The manager's phone rang 3 times before she answered. The voice on the other end was calm, official, and carried the weight of authority that made her spine straighten involuntarily. "This is the Pentagon. We understand you have a Colonel James Whitaker in your facility." The young woman glanced toward the quiet man in room 14, the one she just served with an eviction notice. "Yes, but he's behind on payments and, ma'am," the voice interrupted, "that man saved more lives than you'll ever know, and you need to stop what you're doing. Right now." The phone went dead. The papers in her hand suddenly felt a lot heavier. She looked at the door to room 14. Inside, an old man stared out the window. He wore a faded cardigan. He looked calm. He looked ordinary. But the Pentagon didn't call because he was ordinary. 6 months earlier, Greenfield retirement home sat nestled in the northern hills of Connecticut, hidden among the pine trees. From the outside, it looked peaceful. Inside, old age was a quiet waiting game. The hallways smelled of disinfectant. The walls were pale green. Visitors were rare. Colonel James Whitaker lived in room 14. He was 82 years old. His hair was white, his hands trembled, but his eyes still carried a sharp intelligence. Every morning at 6 o'clock, he'd wake up and make his bed. Military discipline was etched into his body. Then he'd go down to the cafeteria and sit in a corner. His oatmeal was always cold. His newspaper was always yesterday's date. The staff walked past him without a word, like he was furniture, a shadow in the background. Whitaker didn't talk, didn't complain, just sat, read his paper, and returned to his room. In his room, there was an old radio, and at the bottom of his closet, hidden, there was a black box. Nobody had seen that box. Inside that box was a file that had been sealed for 40 years. Eyes only, classified until 2055. This story is a tribute to the silence of true heroes. If this story moved you, please share your thoughts in the comment section below. What does it mean to answer a call that no one else will? And if you believe that stories of true courage should never fade to silence, subscribe to our channel. Every subscription, every like, every share helps us continue bringing these stories to life and ensuring they end with the hope and honor they deserve. It takes us an entire day to create each video like this. Your support keeps these heroes' legacies alive. Thank you for being part of this journey. Speech balloon if you believe true heroes deserve our respect. Type, "I stand with Whitaker." Speech balloon if you believe courage comes in all forms. Type, "We honor the brave." Speech balloon if you believe the mission matters more than recognition. Type silent heroes. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments. And if this story inspired you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Whitaker had never opened that file, never told his children, never mentioned it to friends. Hell, sometimes he tried to forget it himself. But some memories never faded. Some memories woke you up at night. Cold sweat, fast breathing, and a KGB general's face, echoing in the depths of his mind. 3 months earlier, the manager had changed. The old one had retired, replaced by a young, ambitious woman. Her name was Jennifer Carlson. She was 34 years old. She had an MBA. She cared about numbers, not people. In her first week, she reviewed all the files, did a profitability analysis, and found a problem. Room 14. Colonel James Whitaker. His payments were late. For 3 months, they hadn't been paid in full. His retirement pension wasn't enough. His children rarely visited. There was no family support. There was a note in the file. Former military personnel. Quiet. No trouble. Jennifer read that note and shrugged. Not causing trouble wasn't enough. This was a business, not a charity. That afternoon, she went to Whitaker's room, knocked gently on the door. A weak voice came from inside. "Come in." Whitaker sat by the window. He held a book in his hand, but wasn't reading, just staring outside, at the hills, the trees, the distance. "Colonel Whitaker," Jennifer began in a professional voice. "I need to talk to you about your payments." The old man turned slowly. His eyes were tired but calm. "I'm listening. For 3 months, full payment hasn't been made. You owe a total of $4,500. If it's not paid within 30 days, we'll be legally required to evict you." Whitaker said nothing, just nodded, like he'd been expecting this. Jennifer interpreted this as weakness. "Can you talk to your family?" Maybe they can help. My son's in Seattle, Whitaker said quietly. My daughter's in Boston. They both have their own families. I don't want to bother them. Then you could apply for a social assistance program. Maybe. I applied, Whitaker said. Got rejected. Said I had too many assets. But those assets are just on paper. Accounts I can't access. Jennifer closed the folder. I'm sorry, Colonel, but rules are rules. 30 days. And she left. Whitaker turned back to the window. His eyes focused on somewhere far away. 1983, East Berlin. A KGB general's office. And that night, he didn't sleep at all. 1983. East Berlin, the Cold War was at its most tense period. Trust between NATO and the Soviet Union was zero. Both sides had their fingers dangerously close to the nuclear button. One misunderstanding could bring the end of the world. That November, an intelligence report reached the Pentagon. There was a secret Soviet facility in Berlin. Inside were new generation missiles. Their targets, London, Paris, Bonn. Launch time, for minutes. The CIA wanted to destroy it. The Air Force planned to bomb it. But there was a problem. The facility was beneath a civilian hospital. Bombing would mean the deaths of hundreds of innocent people. The Pentagon wanted another plan. A covert plan. Someone had to go inside, disable the facility, and get out. Without anyone noticing, the mission was given to Special Forces. But Special Forces suggested a name. Colonel James Whitaker. He was 43 years old at the time. Military intelligence specialist. He spoke Russian. He spoke German. And most importantly, he was cool under pressure. This is a suicide mission, they told him. I know, Whitaker said. And he accepted. 2 weeks later, Whitaker was in East Berlin with a fake Soviet diplomat identity, fake documents, and a real mission. Getting into the facility took 3 days. First, he worked as a doctor on the upper floors of the hospital, then slowly descended to the basement levels, past security checkpoints. Nobody suspected, because he was confident. He'd hidden his fear. But the real challenge came unexpectedly. There weren't just missiles in the facility. Inside was a command center, and a man controlling that center. General Yuri Volkov, one of the KGB's toughest, most suspicious generals. Whitaker met him in the corridor. Volkov stopped, looked at him, looked long and hard. I don't know you, he said in Russian. That Whitaker's heart raced, but his face didn't change. I'm newly assigned, from the medical records department, here for document inspection. Volkov frowned. Document inspection at night? There was an emergency. Central sent me. Silence. Heavy, dangerous silence. Volkov's hand slowly moved to his weapon, and Whitaker made a decision. Instead of showing fear, he stepped forward. General, he said in a calm voice, if you don't want me here, call Central. You can see my authorization. It was a bold move, because if he called Central, everything would be exposed. But Whitaker knew. Volkov hated bureaucratic procedures, making phone calls, writing reports, answering questions. He hated all of it. And Whitaker was right. Volkov pulled his hand away from his weapon. Go. Finish your work and get out of here. Whitaker bowed his head. Of course, General. And he passed. But he could still hear his heart. Boom, boom, boom. When he reached the facility, there was a large console in front of him. The missile control system, digital screens, red buttons, and a countdown. 72 hours. In 3 days, the missiles would launch automatically. Whitaker pulled a small device from his bag, designed by the CIA, an electromagnetic disruptor. If he connected it to the console, the entire system would crash. Data would be erased. Missiles would be disabled. But there was a problem. Installing the device would take 5 minutes. And during that time, security cameras would see him. Whitaker thought. They made a plan. A dark plan. There was an alarm in the building. A fire alarm. If the alarm went off, all systems would shut down, including cameras. For 90 seconds, Whitaker went upstairs, found a bathroom, went inside, pulled out his lighter, set the toilet paper on fire. Smoke rose. The alarm sounded. The building descended into chaos. Soldiers started running. Security teams mobilized, and the cameras went down. Whitaker went downstairs, ran, reached the console, installed the device. He had to finish everything in 90 seconds, 60 seconds. The device activated. Screens started flickering, 45 seconds. Data transfer began. The countdown blinked, 30 seconds. Volkov's voice was heard. Why did the alarm go off? Who started the fire? 20 seconds. The device completed. The system crashed. Missiles were disabled, 10 seconds. Whitaker removed the device, put it in his pocket, and walked to the exit. The cameras came back online. But Whitaker was already gone. 3 days later, he was in West Berlin. Reported to the Pentagon. Mission successfully completed. 200,000 civilians had been saved without even knowing it, but nobody learned about it. Because the mission was classified. Eyes only. Classified until 2055. Whitaker received a medal, but he never wore it. Because true heroes lived quietly. Present day. Greenfield retirement home. 30 days passed. Whitaker couldn't find the money. His son wanted to help, but had mortgage debt. His daughter wanted to support, but had medical bills. Jennifer Carlson prepared the eviction papers, hired a lawyer, and knocked on the door of room 14. Colonel Whitaker, she said in an official voice, "You need to pack your belongings. You'll be leaving tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Whitaker nodded. "I understand. Do you know where you're going? I'll find a motel. Temporarily." Jennifer hesitated for a moment, wanted to say something, but then gave up. Business was business, and left. Whitaker remained alone in his room, opened his closet, pulled out the black box, looked at the file inside, sealed for 40 years, and for the first time he considered opening it. But at that moment, the phone rang. The manager's phone. Jennifer sat in her office, writing a report on her computer. When the phone rang, she was annoyed. Greenfield Retirement Home. Jennifer Carlson. "Ms. Carlson," the voice came. "This is the Pentagon. We need information about Colonel James Whitaker at your facility." Jennifer froze. "The Pentagon?" "Yes, ma'am. National Security Division. We've identified a document issue regarding Colonel Whitaker. Have you served him with an eviction notice?" "Ah, yes. But it's only because of payment issues." "Ms. Carlson," the voice hardened. "Colonel Whitaker served in one of the most classified operations in United States history. That man prevented Europe from experiencing a nuclear catastrophe. And you're putting him on the street?" Jennifer's mouth went dry. "I didn't know." "Of course you didn't know. Because his file is classified until 2055. But now you do know. And let me tell you this. That man's debts will be paid. All past payments will be erased. And he will be provided with the life he deserves. The Pentagon guarantees it. I understand." But also the voice continued. "Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, 3 Pentagon officials will arrive at the facility. A formal apology will be presented to Colonel Whitaker, and a ceremony of honor will be held. You will be there." The phone went dead. Jennifer stared at the phone. Her hands were shaking. Then she ran to room 14. When she opened the door, Whitaker was still sitting by the window. "Calm, quiet, Colonel," Jennifer said breathlessly. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." The Pentagon called, and Whitaker turned slowly. There was understanding in his eyes. "You were just doing your job, Miss Carlson. Nobody told you the truth. But you're a hero." "No," Whitaker said quietly. "I just did my duty. The real heroes are the ones who stayed in the war. I was just lucky. I gotta come home." Jennifer wiped her eyes. "Tomorrow morning, the Pentagon is coming. They're holding a ceremony for you." Whitaker smiled slightly. "After 40 years? Aren't they a little late?" "It's never too late," Jennifer said. "And I want to learn everything about you." The next morning at 9 o'clock, 3 black vehicles parked in front of Greenfield Retirement Home. Pentagon officials stepped out. Uniforms, medals, and they carried a file. Eyes only, classified until 2055, now declassified early. All the retirement home residents gathered in the lobby. Staff, manager, visitors. Everyone was curious. Whitaker stepped out of room 14, walked with slow steps. He wasn't wearing the faded cardigan anymore. He wore his old uniform, 40 years old, but it still fit. One of the Pentagon officials stepped forward. He held a medal, a silver star. "Colonel James Whitaker," he said loudly. "The Silent Shadow Operation you conducted in 1983 is recognized as one of history's most critical covert missions. You saved 200,000 civilians from a nuclear disaster without them even knowing. Today, the United States of America is proud of you. The medal was pinned. Applause echoed. Whitaker bowed his head. There were tears in his eyes, but he didn't speak, just saluted respectfully. 1 week later, Whitaker's room was renovated. Larger, more comfortable, and all his debts were erased. In fact, a new fund was established, the Forgotten Heroes Fund, for other veterans in similar situations. Jennifer Carlson was now a different person. Every day, she stopped by Whitaker's room, asking him for stories. Whitaker slowly began to share. Berlin, Volkov, the missile console, and those 90 seconds. The other residents at the retirement home now knew him. When he walked down the corridor, they saluted respectfully. When he sat in the cafeteria, they came to join him. And Whitaker was no longer alone. One evening, Jennifer asked him, "Do you ever regret it? Not telling anyone?" Whitaker looked out the window. The sunset painted the hills orange. "No," he said quietly, "because the mission was more important than the recognition. But now I understand. Maybe some stories need to be told, not to brag, but to remind future generations." Jennifer smiled. "Your story won't be forgotten, Colonel." "I hope not," Whitaker said, "because history isn't just written with wars. It's written with the sacrifices of silent heroes." Now, present day today, in the lobby of Greenfield Retirement Home, there's a plaque hanging. It reads, "In honor of Colonel James Whitaker, silent heroes are never forgotten," and every year, on November 15th, a delegation from the Pentagon comes, visits Whitaker, sits with him, listens to his stories. Because some heroes aren't recognized with medals. Some heroes are recognized with silence. And some heroes, even 40 years later, still wait. True courage isn't waiting for praise. It's just doing what's right. That the E.N.D. Whitaker turned 84. He still lives in room 14, but he's not alone anymore. His son visits every month. His daughter calls every week. And the Pentagon never forgets him. One day, Jennifer visited him. She held a new folder. "Colonel," she said, "your story is becoming a documentary. A Hollywood producer is interested." Whitaker smiled. "Documentary? Who's going to play me?" "Your choice." Whitaker thought, then answered, "Then they should choose a real veteran, someone who's lived what they know." Jennifer nodded. "You're right. You're always right." And Whitaker turned back to the window, to the hills, the trees, the distance. Because true heroes never leave the stage, they just wait quietly. Wait for the next generation to understand them.